All right, great. We're going to go and get started. People can roll in as they become available. Obviously, this is going to be recorded and sent out to anyone who registered. But we're going to dive right in. We've got a lot of exciting things to talk about and discuss and demo for you all in this month's webinar. The focus, as you may have known, is the next generation of Harvest. So we're going to be talking a little bit about what's to come, what's next for Harvest, some of the new features, some of the current benefits, and the why you would want Harvest, why you would want to use Harvest as part of your project workflow. Before we get started, to introduce myself, my name is Clay Watson. I'm the Director of Customer Success at AVAIL. I brought on Rob Snyder, our Customer Success Manager, and Randall Stevens, founder and CEO of AVAIL, is going to be on the call as well to talk about all of this, right? We're going to talk about the story of Harvest, some of the reasoning and the why behind what we're working on, what we're developing for you, our customers. So it's going to be really packed. We're going to have a lot to show off. We're actually going to have a little bit more to show off than we did maybe a couple of days ago, which is kind of exciting. So it'll be a really great topic to discuss with you all. To go through the agenda for this webinar, we're going to talk again about the story of Harvest, the solution that we're bringing to you all with Harvest, and the impact that it has across your entire team. So this is not a tool. I mean, it's a tool that's going to be used by publishers, but it is a tool that's effects kind of ripple throughout your entire team. And so it's something that we're going to talk about and kind of how it fits within the project lifecycle as well. We'll be highlighting the benefits of Harvest, again, kind of at every kind of member of your team level and what those implications are. We're going to do a demo, full demo of the new Harvest, some of the changes to the UI, some slightly different mechanics, but some really exciting end results that we've packed in to the kind of already kind of robust Harvest process. And that's going to be on display for us today during the webinar. And we'll be talking about what's next, right? So we're going to be showing off a lot of things, building up a lot of hype. But we're also going to give you some timelines of when this will be delivered, when this will be in your hands. And then we'll have some other webinar topics, right, that are upcoming. And we'll kind of highlight those at the end, as well as providing some updates and reminders for customers as well. So we're going to dive right into things. I like to start off each of these webinars really kind of highlighting, using this slide, and showing these two components. Because when we're thinking about new features or new updates to the product, it's always kind of balancing these two principles of content management. So you're looking at this layer of like ease of maintenance, right? You want to be able to maintain that content, keep it up to date, and also make it very easy to consume. You want your users to find your content and get it into their project seamlessly, right? And we want that workflow to be really robust and give you the level of control that you need throughout that project lifecycle. So I'd like to start off with that, kind of starting at that really, really top high-level picture of balancing the ease of maintenance of content versus the ease of consumption as well. And those are things that we are always kind of considering and putting into our product roadmap and some of the things that we're developing down the line. As we start off, Randall and I kind of worked on this specific slide for you all, talking about the project lifecycle and really kind of where AVAIL fits inside that lifecycle, and then really kind of diving in a little bit deeper where Harvest sits, where AVAIL actually sits, like the desktop, where's some of the palettes features, where do they sit within this project lifecycle. It's going to be very important to talk about some of these components and how they affect, again, your entire team. The entire project lifecycle can be enhanced, the efficiency can be boosted using some of these tools through AVAIL. So if you're looking at this cycle, looking at the entire project, you've got that project file, right? You've got it put together. You've got a container library that you're managing that content with the drafting views and sheets. And then Harvest, it sits right there. So we're very pro container file. We want that to be your level of management of your content. But there are certain problems with that workflow once you kind of get into delivering that content to the rest of your team. And that's where Harvest sits. Harvest gives you the ability to take that container file, extract all of those individual elements, giving you high-res previews, giving you searchability, giving you the ability to download that content for your end users. And that's kind of where it goes right into Avail. So Harvest takes all of that, extracts those elements, and puts it into your searchable library, which is Avail. So you'll see some other subtext under these things. So these are things that are going to be, I'm teasing now, and Randall will be able to show you in a few minutes. But we're adding some components to Harvest to make that even more robust. So along with the virtualized thumbnails, the some of the automated tagging that you can have within the Harvest process, extracting those again high-res previews, we're actually adding a layer of really kind of AI into Harvest to give you full text search of your drafting views. So it's a new process that's been added in. We'll be able to demo that here in a few minutes. And then we're also adding a layer for related content, which is a feature that we implemented at the start of the year. And we've been kind of, I think we released a blog maybe last week on some of the use cases that people have for related content. It was really designed to bring content that may live in different places, whether it's maybe you live in two different places in Avail, or maybe you live in Avail and live somewhere else. Maybe it's a manual, maybe it's a URL to a manufacturer's website that lives somewhere else in the library or externally, and you can relate those directly, put them side by side in Avail, which can be very beneficial for the end users who are going to these content pieces of content, wanting to know, okay, does this go with a certain manual? Do I need to reference this manufacturer website? Those kind of things can be brought together through related content. So we're layering in these additional components to Harvest to again boost that searchability in your library, boost that kind of end result for the consumption of your content overall. And then as you kind of move through, we've also introduced palettes, and palettes was introduced kind of at the end of last year, and we've had really, really strong traction with firms utilizing palettes for really kind of project workflow. And it's going to fit right into your project. It can be used as a shopping cart in a lot of ways. As users go in, they can pull things together. They can create their own palettes. It's very flexible. Palettes are very temporal as well, so you can create them and throw them away and create a new one very easily through your kind of standard workflow with Avail. We've also added some components that we'll be able to show off that takes that a step further and makes it even easier to load those items. We built a palette full of content, full of things that you need for your project. We're going to make it even easier to bring into your Revit project and load kind of automatically using the Project Navigator Harvest tool. But it is a full cycle. There are a lot of pieces that are involved, a lot of people that are involved within that project life cycle. We talked a little bit about this already, but just to reiterate again, we're really kind of the story behind Harvest is addressing this specific workflow with container libraries. So container libraries, again, we're pro container libraries. That's where the content should be managed. But when you're trying to deliver that content or give access to that content to everyone else on the team, it becomes very restrictive. You've got a lot of, you're very contained. And Avail opens that up. Through Harvest, you can extract those. They can be centrally accessed. They're viewable and downloadable. And so touching on this cycle just one more time, we also have the benefits. So I've kind of talked a little bit about how Harvest affects all of your team throughout the project. So we've got 4 listed here, keeping elements in the container file for easy maintenance. That's a happy BIM manager. You're keeping it there. You're managing things in that container library. Nothing has to change a part of that specific workflow. Number 2, virtualizing elements so they're easier to find, which is a happy designer. So they're able to go to Avail, they can search, they can see these high-res previews, and it's much easier to extract those and pull them into your project. Number 3, creating the high-res drafting or the high-res resolution of drafting views, sheets, and legends. So it's a happy searcher. So maybe you're just trying to find a sheet, pull in drafting views as a part of that workflow. Harvest does all that work for you to present and make that content much easier to consume. And number four, eliminate the need for Revit to be present to view the content. So that's another hang up to the container library workflow is that not everyone on the team may have access to Revit. And so with Avail, with using Harvest, you can present these elements to people without needing that access. And so it's heavy principles and non-Revit users. So they can go in there, they can see what's being used, and actually interact with that content without having to be in Revit at the same time. So yeah, just to backtrack again, that's kind of where we're sitting right now with Harvest, with some of these new features that are coming with this new generation, this next generation of Harvest. But again, we're aiming to again make it easy to maintain content, making it easy to consume content, and then giving that result across your entire team, because that's who is affected within that project lifecycle overall. All right, cool. So now we can really get into the best part of everything and actually demo what I've been kind of talking about and some of the themes that we've been kind of explaining so far. I'm going to turn it over to Randall Stevens. Randall, feel free to talk a little bit more about the story of Harvest or the project lifecycle, your thoughts there, and then we can dive into the demo.
Sure. Thanks, Clay. Um, Now you touched on the highlights. I mean, I think probably everybody on the calls, if they are trying to manage content in Revit, understand the severe limitations of everything that's not a family. That's what I'm fond of kind of always pointing back to is if it's a family, it's an individual RFA file. It's got some benefits of being able to be separated and organized and found, but everything else, especially these drafting views and all this other types of elements inside of Revit are very difficult just by nature of that they don't live in their own file format. So this whole backstory of Harvest was recognizing that and trying to abstract that information away from the RVT file and being, you can think of that data just kind of being stuck in that RVT file. It's fine for maintaining it. In fact, it's a pretty good way to, people call them warehouse files, container files. I'm sure most of you have them in your operation is to use that as the kind of organizer around this content, but that file becomes a terrible interface for the users to, find. It's not searchable. It's hard to open those big things up and grab stuff out of it as you need it. So that's been the whole mission of this Harvest was, can we abstract that data away from those container libraries? Well, that's where you're maintaining it, and then have it show up in Avail as individual elements and items that you can search, fully searchable, drag and drop them, makes it very easy for people to consume. So, and I know some of you are on the call are customers, and we've been sharing some of this roadmap over the last, since the first of the year, but the whole team's been hard at work in the first quarter, right? This was really I'm going to share my screen. Can you guys validate that you're seeing it? Okay. Yeah, the team's been hard at work since the end of the year. So really, this was our first quarter project. Major project was to have this, what we're calling Harvest 3.0 update. So several things that I'll just say for those of you that are currently using it. Today, Harvest is a separate plugin than our project navigator interface that's inside of Revit. So a lot of the work that we're doing now has been under this theme of, can we simplify? How much can we keep simplifying everything? So part of that simplification is no more is there two plugins. We're getting rid of that Harvest plugin standalone, and it's now integrated fully into the project navigator code. So you've only got one plugin to get installed into Revit. And I won't swear that we'll never make another plugin. We're going to try to keep all this stuff consolidated into one, and then use role management about what you're able to do inside of that plugin. But so that's one first kind of big benefit that you'll see. Part of the driver behind getting those two things integrated was Project Navigator was designed and developed to do just that, help you better and easier search and navigate a project that's in Revit. So now you can think about your container library and warehouse files as one of those projects. You get all the features and benefits when you're harvesting of Project Navigator. Ease of searching, finding what you're looking for as you're managing those container libraries. So I've got Revit up here on my screen. I've got my Project Navigator open. I've got a container drafting that we use to demo with drafting views in it. So again, it's all searchable, so if I knew I was looking for a jam detail, I can search jam. You can double click to navigate. So all of the Project Navigator benefits are going to come to bear. You might have already been using Project Navigator on your container libraries, if assuming that you had the plugin installed, but now it's all integrated into one. I keep joking that this is a little tobacco leaf, but this is the new little icon to put you into harvest mode. The tobacco leaf, because we're in Kentucky and tobacco was a big part of Kentucky for many years. Uh, the um, the mode that when I go into this harvest mode is just changing the functionality of the plugin of this Project Navigator interface. That's a role that's still set, so it's same as now if you're a publisher and you have those. So it's not everybody that gets this plugin installed is going to see that. Only if you're a publisher in the system. But as you can see, the interface changes a little bit. You've still got all your navigation capabilities, so I can still search and help me navigate to find this content. I might be working on this detail and updating it. And then we've changed a couple of things. One is we built a queuing system for the processor. So all you have to do is click on one of these. You can also do things like add all of these to the queue if you wanted to, remove them all from the queue. And then as you do add things to the queue for processing, there's a new little items in the queue. So you can always, jump around your project. Maybe you're actually harvesting some materials out of here. You're going to go add those, and then they'll just show up in the queue ready for processing. So, so that's the basic functionality. You get all these kind of benefits of this stuff now being combined. The other biggie, that I think will affect a lot of people, like to hear the cheers and or the more wishes at the end, but prior to this, you've had to index your source container library warehouse file in Avail before you could begin using the harvest process on it. The reason that was like that was there was all kinds of settings, information, and stuff that we had to tie in our database to that indexed file. Now, and some of this is I've got I am still running in dev, so sometimes this may be a little bit slow, but same project set up. Here's my output channel where I want the data to go and a distribution channel. But now those settings are tied to the file itself, so you no longer have to pre-index your container library into Avail. So what that means is if you've got work shared, if you've got projects in ACC and you're using, you can just open those up. You can go into harvest mode. We'll tie all the settings to that project file. It also means, your primary use case is probably obviously these management of these container libraries and warehouse files, but you can just open up a project at your will, go into harvest mode and pluck, details or an in-place family that was made or something in there and drive that back into Avail for a workflow. More to come there. And, I think what I keep mentioning to people on our roadmap discussion with customers is now that this code is in the Project Navigator code that's installed on every user's machine, we're starting obviously with these publisher utility tools, but the code is now there for us to now on our roadmap to say, hey, can we let users right click on an object and publish into, for submission into the library, run some QA QC process on that. So all the code's getting in place for us to be able to start to layer those kind of capabilities in what we're doing here. Before I shut this this dialog box down, you'll also notice that Clay mentioned that we introduced a concept of related content. So the idea is that any content in Avail can be attached to each other in a relationship we call related content. So we now have integrated into Harvest the ability for sheets at your choosing to also publish related content. So the idea is if you are managing sheets as container in your container library, that you can publish the sheet, but then you can publish everything that's on the sheet, the drafting views, the legends, the schedules, as individual items as related content. What we've heard from customers, the use case there is a lot of times people will publish these things into their library. I use like a example of like an ADA, standard ADA sheet that may have a dozen or so items on it. End users are used to thinking about those sheets as the navigation to that content or data that lives on them, but they may not want the entire sheet. The related content lets them navigate there by knowing which sheet that's on, but then just plucking off an individual schedule or drafting view or legend, like I said, off of that. And I'll show you here in a second. an example of what that looks like. But once you've got things queued up, you just hit the run button and that's it. So it's still as simple as that. This should just make it a lot easier, a lot less prep work, and one less plugin to deal with to open things up and start getting that data out into Avail. So let me pop over to the desktop now and kind of show you the end result of that. So as Clay mentioned, the first big end result is that all drafting views now that go through the harvest process, starting with this 3.0, are automatically full text searchable. So I'm going to give you an example of that so you can see all of these details that I harvested out yesterday into this channel for this demo. For those of you that are new to Avail, we automatically create high resolution previews like you can see here. All the text on all of these is now fully searchable within Avail. So I'm just going to give you a couple of examples. If across these I were to search for storefront, get on the right keys here. So if I search for storefront, I'm going to find a bunch of details. I chose this as an example because what you can see is we still allow you to put tags on content, but all the full text search capabilities, we're not adding those as additional tags. It's actually a different type of metadata and content stored in the database for search. I'll show you how that manifests itself in the interface here in a second. But it also affects the search results. So things that you have tagged are going to show up first in the search versus words that might hit on the full text inside of these drafting views. So this is an example where you can see storefront was in the name of the file, so those showed up first. But if I go to one of these and open up the high-res preview, hopefully I can put my eyes on it. So somewhere on here, there's the word storefront, probably right here we have storefronts. So fully text searchable. This should make all of your drafting views more surfaceable. I'll do the same thing with a curb detail. So there's one that it was actually a curb detail, but there's the word curb in 3 other details that I can use the full search text search capabilities to find. Probably the word curbing is somewhere in here. There it is. All right, the other thing, if I open up the information panel on the right, here's the normal info. We're now adding a new tags and data section. So here you can see the clear separation. Your tags stay separated. This says OCR. I was telling Clay right before this, I said we should quit. We've already encoded this into the name of this, but we started out using traditional OCR methods, but we're actually using some AI methods to be able to get this text off of these documents. The important part of that was it was important because of the way text is grouped on these things to keep the text in those groupings and in context and then into the search engine in that way. So we've had a lot of success using some AI techniques to be able to do that. It's also, this is also laying the groundwork that post this release, we've got a complete backend flow now just using image-based data to do this full text search capability on. So what that means is we didn't specifically write something for Revit drafting views. We're actually using the images that we are creating for these high-res previews to be able to do that, which that means that in the future, you may have a PDF image of a drafting view. We've already been running experiments with some customers that are completely hand-drawn and handwritten. Those are all become very searchable. So again, all this legwork that we've done, capability is going to end up manifesting itself in multiple things beyond what you're just seeing here. And I'll just say that, our desktop code is getting updated. We called Harvest was kind of the bedrock of the development cycle in the first quarter, but it ends up touching several other things along the way. So I'm going to kind of touch on some more of those. So you will have a new desktop update. This affected the way our database is stored. It affected the way our search engine was done. So we were hoping to already have this in your hands, and probably some of you 6 weeks ago, I probably promised you'd have it in your hands in April. We started moving this into production last week. They were working on it this weekend, and through this week, it's getting into the production cycle. So I keep saying it's imminent. I'm going to quit promising days, but it's close at hand. I'm going to show you another sample here. I'm going to go actually into a channel of drafting views that were harvested that are actually using our own hosting cloud service, just to show you a couple of other features. So we're always trying to kind of sneak in a few extra things that have been on the request list for everybody. One of those is if for those customers that are using our hosting cloud, today, you normally have to download each one of these with a single click to download those files. We're now, if you multi-select these, we're now providing a way to right click and download multiple at the same time. So you can make multiple selections, right click, and those will all get queued to download with one button click. So should have a lot of happy end users on that front that have found that to be frustrating. The other feature that I'll say that well, let me go back to this other channel. So before I jump over into the palettes, let me show you the related content concept. So in this channel, I've actually taken, this is actually some project elements, but I've taken full sheets. And so if I open up the detailed view of this, one, you'll see the new related content icon that'll show up. But here I've got the full sheet, but you'll notice it down below. Here are all the drafting views, right, that are attached with that. So each one of those is viewable. I can drag and drop those right into Revit and bring them into the project. So this is what I was talking about with this concept of related content. So again, I might have a sheet with partition types. Do I want to load the entire sheet in, or do I want to go pluck an individual drafting view that I know was on one of those sheets off into the project? So this is all automated. When I had the Harvest dialog up in the settings, I had turned on publish related content. This is all a byproduct of just turning that button on, and you'll start to get all this capability attached to it. So a good manifestation of the related content feature that we introduced late last year. All right. So let me now show you. So I'd right click that. So let's talk about these palettes. So if you haven't seen these, palettes are really the first, I'll say, purely user generated control item, in that Avail's traditionally been the people managing it, setting up the resources and libraries, set it all up, and basically hand Avail to people and say, come and consume, come and digest this information. Palettes, which we introduced in the release late last year, were really the first tool that users get to go kind of create their own palettes. And this is really driven around project workflows. We heard over and over from people asking for concept of a shopping cart, favorites lists. Once we took all of those conversations, it all boiled down into what people need is end users need the ability to go and grab and organize content in their own way around the work that they're doing. That was what resulted in this palettes feature. So palettes, every user can create them. They can share them with one another. I'm going to go ahead, I just created this one, this Harvest 3 project. Right now, this is just a blank slate. If I wanted to share this, I'll do that in a second. But let me go back to my sample details. Actually, I'm going to use the hosting cloud details, and I'll demo two things at once. So if I went back into my detail library, these happen to be hosting cloud, and I decided that there were these three details that I wanted to use in the project. I could add those to a palette. So here I have to right click, I can add those, and I'm just copying those and inference to those onto this palette. And all that palette is just a little temporary organizing tool that lets me, related to the work I'm doing, go grab stuff, resources, and bring them over. I can also share those with others on my team. So I might say, hey, Clay, I'm going to share these with Clay, and I'll go over on Teams. And one of the things that we just added, we teased you with it. I didn't even know it was in there, but the get link is now live. So you can actually just share a link to that. So I could go throw that over in Teams and say, hey, Clay, I just created a palette with some details that you should be using on this project, and go grab that. So now I'm going to show you, though, that this is always kind of hard to do on one monitor, but I've still got Revit open back here. I'm going to get out of harvest mode. So what you'll notice is that if I do have my desktop open and I've selected a palette, watch over here now in the Project Navigator window, similar to the way that we always do content, now I can actually select single or multi-select and bulk load those palettes into the project with one click. So makes it real easy for people to go through stuff and then in one click get all that stuff ingested into their current project. So end users may end up using those palettes to throw favorites on that they want to get to all the time, but it was really the story, and the official use case is it's kind of temporal around a project use case. Use it, blow it away when you're done with it. Should be kind of a, I'll call it casual use of getting content into your projects and organized across your team. The other thing though is that if I were to not have my desktop open and I close this, we're introducing the ability to begin in this plugin interface to actually not even have to see the desktop. Desktop stuff might be running as a service back behind the scenes, but I can actually just load that. So for that H3 project that I had those three details, if you remember, I grabbed those and those were hosting cloud and those three details weren't downloaded yet. All I have to do is click that and say load the palette. And what's going to fire up is that we will now queue up. We'll throw whatever Revit messaging, but we're actually downloading those automatically and bringing them over all in one click. So we not only gave you the right click and download, you don't even have to do that. You can just get them onto, thrown onto a palette and then just bulk load them in, hit the one button and everything's done. So it should speed up, and make that very easy for people to get this content into their projects. I was talking fast. I think that's it, Clay. That's
Yeah.
everything I had listed that I wanted to show. I think the trick there is, yes, Harvest is kind of the at the core of this release cycle, but we also touched what we're doing with palettes. We
Mhm.
touched the hosting cloud download capabilities, and then obviously the OCR, or the full text search capabilities is now in play. It's going to start out through Harvest with your drafting views, but it'll have a life beyond that with things that we plan to, extend in the future. So
Yeah.
looking forward to hearing everybody's feedback. We can answer questions.
Yeah, we had a few questions that came through. The first one off the top is, can I add tags while harvesting? Right now, I publish in a temp channel, then tag it there. So yeah, right now you've got access to the Revit tag generator. That's something that you can set up, enable your parameters to match your tags and how you want that output to appear in Avail. There's no additional tagging that takes place other than
No, you just have to wait. You have to wait till the content objects get created over in the
yeah,
Avail database, and then you've got all the tagging
yeah,
features that we've got at hand.
yeah. The next question, can harvest OCR text in legends, tags, and nested in families?
So the answer is probably.
Yeah.
We built an entire back end processing job flow for uh, getting that text and information extracted, and then ultimately adding that information to the database to make it searchable. We've opted with this Harvest project to start with what we thought was the most important that we get the most feedback from, which is all my details, my drafting views need to be, can you make those more searchable? So that was job number one.
Mhm.
The reason that we've kind of slowed that down and stopped there is this maybe gets too technical, but the way that we store that data in the backend database and search engine is highly affected by how much data we're trying to shove in there. So we've kind of have a temporary stopgap for the way that data is going into the database when there's going to be a massive amount of text. So like I could do OCR on a 1,000-page PDF document. That's a lot of text to shove into a database and make searchable. It's a different configuration and setup than we currently have optimized for the way that we're doing tag-based search and name-based search. So that's a long way of saying we are planning to change some of the way that we're going to store some of that in the database in a way that we can store lots more text. So one of the reasons that we didn't go ahead and just run this automatically on sheets, I'm sure all of you have seen sheets that are just 100% full of text, right? So that's a lot of text data to shove into our current configuration. We'll get there. It's going to mean some more changes to the way that we store data and the way that's in the database. So that'll come later. Being able to touch, I think as we get this out, to kind of further that question, just tell us what other things have text-based data on it, or is it parameter data of some type, maybe on these families that you're wanting. You can always, if I'm not sure who asked that question, if they're a customer or not, but you
Mhm.
can already pull any parameter that you want using what we call the Revit tag generator in Avail to get that metadata as tags in and searchable. So we already kind of handle parameter data in that way. If there's text data that's showing up somewhere else, then we just need to understand where it is, like it is on these drafting views, and how we would initiate our flows to get that data in there. But
Yeah, one other question. We had a few other questions that came through. One that's been answered just directly through the chat. Is the new 3.0 Harvest currently included in the Revit add-in version 5.4.0? And that is no. So currently we've got your Revit add-in version 5.4. It's out in production and available. We'll have an additional production release that will put the Harvest and Project Navigator together into one add-in. So that's going to
I
be,
have I haven't seen the number, but this will probably increment up to a 5.5 release of the Project
yeah,
Navigator or something, right?
yeah. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to send out communication exactly when that goes live and is available, but it's not currently available in the version now.
When we scheduled this webinar 6 weeks ago, we thought there was a good chance that we might have it in production by now, but we're still just a little bit away. So
Yeah, very, very close. Another question around Project Navigator normal mode. Do you see in Navigator normal mode which items are already in the project versus which are in the channel? And that's a yes. So Project Navigator does continue to show what is in the project. It will kind of have a lot of those same core features that you may have been using. It's going to show you what's in the project. And then if you needed to search the library and bring something in, you do have that option to jump into Avail, jump in the desktop and search there. Let's see. Around permissions, so is Harvest mode in Navigator available only for publishers? That's a yes. So that is the permission level where they'll have that option to switch on Harvest mode. If they're not a publisher, they wouldn't have the ability to do that. Here's one. In the sheet view with related content, can the related content be added to a palette? So I think they may be asking if you can
oh,
add it from the content view.
good good question. I don't know. I don't know. Let me go see.
I just tested it and you can, but not with a right click. You can drag it onto a palette
Great
for
point. Yeah.
related content.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can probably go initiate that add to palette from here too.
hmm
I'll talk to the team about that.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a good point, Rob. Because that's a different window, you can just have it side by side and then have
Yeah,
that palette open and drag everything over.
actually, so if I pop this out into its own window, here's my palette. I'm going to dock this
Yeah.
over here so I can see it. And then if I go back in to something with related content, for those of you I didn't show, but one of the features of related content is its ability to filter by just show me things that have related content in this channel. So I can do things like that. I can pop this window up. There's related content. So here's my palette now and my related content. So if I wanted that schedule to be over here, I can drag it over. Right.
hmm
But yeah, good point. I hadn't
Yeah.
thought about that, but we can probably go add that to that menu. Good. See, this is how we learn.
Yeah.
You all tell us what we missed.
We got a good number of questions still. So can we add related content independently? Example, select a wall type. Related content would be details for that particular assembly. And that's a yes. So you can
Yeah.
relate things independently. We've automated some of that. We've built it into Harvest to make it a lot easier because there could be a lot of drafting views tied to a sheet and to kind of go in there, do it manually will take some additional time and effort. So we're automating as much as we can right now.
We
But that
also
is
have,
still a feature
oh,
that, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we also have a soon
Oh,
updated
yes.
Tag.io-esque related content capability. So you'll be able to, especially if you've got something that you're wanting to copy onto lots of those, you'll be able to dump it just like you do into Tag.io now. Copy that, you build one relationship and then copy that and push that data right back in versus via our Tag.io to keep that stuff updated. So should make that much easier.
Okay, cool. Another question's around the related content. So it's kind of how related content works in reverse. Is there a way to show entire sheet when one view is selected?
Yeah, we haven't done that. We've had those conversations with several people over the last few months after we released this. And really I'll just say what led for us adding this to the harvest capability was us seeing early in the year some of our first customers using that related content feature to manually do what we're doing right here. And it was like, okay, we should make this one of the features of Harvest, is that instead of having to manually go put these things together, it could just be a byproduct of the publishing process. So a lot of times, once we see how customers are thinking about this and can understand where that information and data is, it gives us then the story to come back and go, how can we automate that or make it much easier for people to get those relationships? We've known since the get-go that this idea of there's no denying that the idea that all this information is related. The trick is, how do I get those relationships built and maintained? And we've known that that's going to be a tall order. So for us, it was get the infrastructure in place to allow it to happen, then start to see what people are starting to ask for. And then, like what we're showing here, we can begin trying to knock out these, major use cases and try to automate as much as possible. So we'll continue down that path.
Cool. Switching gears to palettes, we have a couple of questions on palettes. Can any content be added to a palette? Sheets, schedules, families, etc. That's a yes. So yeah, there's no limitations to
No
what you
limits.
can add to a palette. There is a limitation to how many pieces of content you can have on a palette. I think it's limited
200, I
200
think.
items. Yeah. But yeah,
Probably too
anything
many.
that's in the library, right? Yeah.
Yeah, here's a family, right? These are
Yeah.
just some palettes that have been playing with. Details. Yeah, it's not anything that's in Avail you can throw on a palette.
Mhm.
There's a bunch of families and
Oh yeah.
details.
And to kind of spin off of that, do all users see all palettes, or how do they limit down to the relevant bits? So no, it's specific to the user. So user that creates that is only going to see that for themselves. If they share it out, then that other person is going to share it. But it's all kind of based on that original user, original creator, author of the palette, and then who they share it with.
Yeah, if I want it, Rob's not in our demo account. Yeah, but it's up to you. When you create it, you own it. Nobody else sees it. No, nobody else knows it exists until you've shared it out proactively with somebody else. So you can just kind of expand. So again, those were meant to be small team kind of use cases. Like, I've got my colleague that I'm working with. I'm going to go grab this stuff out of the library and share it with him. I just made it convenient for him to, now grab that out of that one little central palette. And then when you're done with the palette, you can just delete it.
Mhm.
Real simple. Like here, I can go, if I didn't need this palette anymore, actually, I think you have to do it from the front. Right click,
Yeah. Yeah.
delete. Yes, delete it. It's gone.
And there's no effect to the source content. That's going to live where it lives in the channels. Nothing has changed there. It's just in this kind of palettes interface. All right, cool. So yeah, switching gears a little bit around the text search, is there a way to limit the text search results to a specific channel so they don't clog search results when searching across channels?
You're conflating two things. Do you want to search a single channel, or do you want to search across all your channels? So the way you search in a channel is go into the channel, and now the
Mhm.
search box is constrained to there at the top. That means I'm just searching in the vehicle that I'm in. You can, I was being a little bit smartass, but it's like, there is a complicated way. You can notice that there's the in filters. So if I knew that there was I can search for a channel like this. So when I start typing, we're showing you what the channels are that match that. And you'll notice that you can actually say search in that channel. So if I wanted to, I can click this, and then you'll notice that now I'm constraining the search box to say in this channel name,
Mhm.
search for, jam. So yes, I'll bet nobody uses it because it's like an extra little click. It's kind of fancy. It was kind of an elegant way to be able to do what you're asking, but that's no different than me just going and clicking on this thing. that's exactly what's in that top of that search box. And now when I search, that's all I'm seeing. Otherwise, when you're performing these searches, we're assuming that you want to search across what we call global search, everything. So we're not big on pre-selecting. We're big on making it easy. Just type what you want. We'll bring back all the info, and the info is what you can use now, as you can see here, to filter down and say, okay, that was way too many. Can I filter down? And as you filter down, you can also just double click on these things, and you're in that subset of that search. So play around with it. If you haven't, some people may not have spent enough time to really understand. And one, they may not understand that when we bring back those search results and they're in that, we show you which channels they're in, that you can use that to filter, and you can double click on it, which takes you, into that channel and that subset of content. So it's the best. Well, I'll leave it up to you all to decide whether it's good or not. It's a complicated problem of which it's hard to have a very simple approach to solving. And I think the team did a pretty good job. So I'll leave it there.
Cool. So we'll keep on going through. So if you can harvest sheets, can you also load in entire sheets into a project just as individual detail, not just as individual details?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So you can load that in the same way as you would the individual elements. Next question, is the text recognition all or nothing? Can we
Yes.
disable for some content but leave on for most?
You'd have to, no, the answer is no. Right now we are full text search doing that, right? There is no kind of opt out of that.
Right. It'll be automatic.
I think as we move this forward, there's the possibility. The problem with like letting you select some and select other, it just gets complex. Like now, when do you know which one has it? And then when you think about the text on the individual drafting views, and if we let you edit that text in the context of Avail, was it a misspelling on the detail? And you probably are going to want to go back, fix the detail, and republish it. Then we write back over top of that data. So there's some when do we let you edit outside of the thing? When do we put this back through the flow? When are we writing over top of that data? When do you lose that data? When do you keep that data? That all gets really complex. So for now, all that is fully text searchable. As you come up with use cases where that doesn't make sense or presents a problem, you're gonna have to come back and tell us those stories, and then we'll figure out how to address it.
Great. Next question. Do we need to reprocess with the new harvest to get the full text searchability? Yeah, and that'll be a yes. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
nothing that's going to happen retroactively. It has to be run through this new kind of back end processing. Next question, will Harvest recognize if there are duplicates or very similar details, or will it automatically make another copy?
Well, if it's already in your container library and it's a copy, and we're just going to be shooting that out. If you're bringing something into Avail from, say, a project file, and you've already got the same or similar drafting view in your library that was in your container library, we're not doing anything to automatically tell you that. I'll say that today. Where we are spending the rest of this year working on is around better context with the project. So there's a couple of things that this will start to lay the groundwork for. One is, can we know if the detail that came out of your library into a project came out of the library? Then the question is can we know if it's been edited or changed? Is it a derivative of the one that was in the library? So the first step is, yes, we already can know if the detail came out of the library and is in the project. We're just not really doing anything with that information yet. Next step is we're planning to build a notification system. So if you were to, let's just say you went and updated that detail or that drafting view in your container library, and it was because the state updated their code this year and there was a major change. So that notification system that we're working on thinking through is, you can imagine the severity. Is this informational update to this detail, or is this an all stop button that anything that's got this in it needs to be updated? So we're working through what that might mean. So now you can imagine if it was an all stop button, when you reharvest that that detail or that sheet, because it's the ADA compliance has changed and all of our projects moving forward need to have the new information on it. Then when you go to publish that, we're going to give you, our goal is to give you the ability to flag it. You'll put notes in about what's changed. That'll go into the library. And then we have to now know which projects that are out there have that sheet in it or that drafting view in it. And then we can use that information to now send the alert. So we're going to be introducing this concept we call workspaces around the project context. And that's going to give us the footwork or the groundwork to be able to start to drive those notifications. It's also around what you're, I think, asking, which is, can we know if that detail or sheet got in here and got edited? Can we know that it got edited from the original? That's the groundwork that we're now starting to work on in order to be able to do those kind of more advanced kind of capabilities like that. So good use cases, and I think there's a lot of exciting possibilities of what we can do as we start to touch that from that standpoint.
Great. Another question. Can the project navigator sort and filter per Revit's current project browser organization settings? Users have shied away from using it as a resort's content from their norm.
The answer is probably, we've looked at it a little bit about what it would be to mirror that structure over there. Yeah, there's probably a way we could do it. It's just time and attention at this point, right? Is it worth it? But, part of this for us is this question of what is it about Project Navigator? What is it about the Revit project browser that is so bad that you would not want to use it anymore and use something else? So our goal isn't necessarily to make you quit using the Revit project browser. There are just certain things that it is not good at, and we've tried to focus on, stubbing that in there and then having that capability. So like navigating to an element and things like that, which may not be, continuously what you need to do. You can just jump over into that project navigator and be able to do some of those kind of capabilities. So we've always been very cautious. We don't think that we could ever replace what you're going to do with the Revit's project browser. So that should not ever be our goal, knowing that you could never replicate. I mean, technically you could never replicate everything that you do, nor would you want to try to keep up and try to say, oh, quit using Revit's project navigator. Maybe it starts that you're 95% in project navigator and 5% of the time you go over here. As we add some more features in, maybe it gets 80-20 or 50-50, maybe, but I doubt that'd be a tall order for us to say our goal is to get you out of Revit's project browser. So anyway, I'd like to, whoever asked that question, talk further, know some more, like directionally.
Great. Another question. I got a few more in the queue. So did you say that when you harvest a detail, related content automatically generates? That's a yes. But does it include...
At your option. You have the option of doing it. You don't have to do it. Yeah.
Right. But does it include families in the detail and such?
Right now, just the only related content that we'll publish is sheets and things that are on sheets, which are drafting views, legends, and schedules. Harvestable elements by Harvest, which are, drafting views, sheets, schedules, legends, materials, view templates. What else do we harvest? All the things that we harvest. So the first ones that make sense are sheets with the things that are on the sheets, the other element types that we support that are on the sheets. We've already talked to a customer that was, when we were showing them this, ask us if we could, when we publish the drafting view, could we publish the detail items? That's very possible. We just hadn't gotten it in there yet. We're trying to get this out the door, but we're likely to come back and give you the option of, do you want to publish, detail items along with your details? Somebody might see a detail and go, I'm actually editing that over here. I want to pull, detail items out to be able to construct this. So that all kind of makes sense. Families, right? Families are 3D. Yeah, families aren't on. It'd be interesting to know what you wanted to do. Like if you published a group, that'd be a good example. A group or an assembly that had individual families in it. When you harvest the group, could we also publish the individual families? The answer is probably yes. We just trying to get this first example done, and then we'll go, kind of add those as people say it's important to them.
Cool. Let's see. That's good. We are going to talk timelines here in just a second once we wrap up, and discuss kind of when you can expect some of these things to be released. We do have a question on just kind of palettes in general, talking about can you open several palettes at the same time, and how that looks in the interface. So yeah, you can open up and have separate windows for each palette if you're looking at them side by side and comparing, or yeah, dragging and dropping from palette to palette. That can be done. But it is just like multiple windows, all about screen real estate, how many you want to open at a time.
I was just going to drag some stuff. Yeah. Yeah, you can move stuff between windows.
And then
Notice,
if you,
you may
go
not
ahead.
have noticed, but we'll also
Oh, yeah.
tell you, like down here below, we'll tell you if that detail lives in multiple
Mhm.
channels, right? So
Yeah, so if you need to go back to the source and maybe pull more from that channel, you can. And then if you share a palette, is it read only for the share E, or can they add content back to it? So yeah, those permissions, those editing permissions carry over as you share it. That next user that's being shared with, they can edit it. They can add things to the content or to the palette. They can remove things from the palette. So that's something to just kind of keep in mind. We left it open intentionally to allow for some collaboration, some back and
ease of
forth,
use,
and make
ease of
it,
use.
yeah,
Yeah.
make it really ease of use. Exactly. But that is, they do have editing privileges that carry over.
Yeah. So there's no hierarchy. That's the other way to think about it. Technically,
Right.
there is no parent-child relationship. I own it and I've shared it with Clay. I created it, but
Mhm.
as soon as I've shared it, we're on equal footing. We're siblings. We're not parent-child relationship. So
That's another question. Can you stop or enable a user stop from editing items to a palette once it's been shared to the user? When I share a palette to a team member, can I stop the team from editing it or allow editing? So that's a no. Yeah, just kind of what we had just explained. As soon as you share it, they've got editing privileges, and there's no way to uh, restrict one user from being unable.
yeah, and they're probably, they're touchy. This isn't the first time that we've had people, right? The first thing is we put out a feature like palettes. Here's what it's designed to do, and then people want to fill gaps that we've left in capability. They want to begin to use that tool to try to as a workaround for that. So there's this idea of central control and distribution, which is what channels are. And you can create a new channel and put content in it. I was telling somebody earlier, it's like when we first started working on the palettes, my joke was like, it's just channels by another name. It's just a channel. It's just a grouping of content. It's all about what permissions you've allowed on it. So we're trying to stand strong around this idea that we're not going to feature creep palettes. Palettes are taking off. They're great for these end users to use around their project workflows. They'll figure out what they're going to do about it. Give them those tools. You as a publisher may need some new capabilities for smaller and tighter distribution of content. So the one thing that we've been, trying to figure out is imagine being able to create a channel that you can share out with people that can edit, but they can't index new content from the outside world. Today, when you have editing privileges in a channel, it means you can index new content in. There's all kinds of capabilities. There may be some needs for some more tighter control over channels. And even if you're talking about distributing stuff out to the end users, we're investigating the ability. Right now, we let you create a link to content. But if you start to look at our what we call the breadcrumb trail, let me pop up. This will make more sense. So when I'm in a channel and I have, let's just say I've gone into this group. This is what we call a breadcrumb trail, this address trail. Well, we let you link to the channel and we let you link to the content, but we're talking about extending the ability to link to any place you are in the chain. So basically any tag that you've created will become a shareable link. So some people talk about this concept of saved searches and all these kind of capabilities. We've gone around a lot of design options and thinking about this, and where we've kind of landed is we might be able to solve a bunch of problems just by being able to share a link out, because every one of those tags is actually a search that's performing. So if we can now basically link to any one of those in the tree or in that breadcrumb trail and share that, that becomes something that now could be shared out. It's like, hey, if you want to easily get back to casework inside this channel, here's the link to it. And then those may then have a new place in the user's I'll call it portfolio of where they can kind of save those. So this concept of saved searches or saved quick links back to things, we're trying to address that. So sometimes, we can only move as fast as we can. We've introduced this new feature of palettes. There's a bunch of other stuff now that people are looking for it to want it to do that they've been asking for, but we try to figure out, is there another answer without overcomplicating and adding too many features that we can accomplish this. So I might be reading into what whoever asked that is alluding to, but that's kind of where we are in our thinking on that.
Great. Yeah, just a couple more questions and then we'll wrap up. So one here, during our design review process, our principals are often asking when those details were recently reviewed. We still need a tag or property viewing the date of the revised detail from Harvest.
So it's the creation and update dates are in your analytics flow. So and there are some basic reports that are already in your analytics reporting tools specific to Harvest, and when things were harvested, when each item was harvested, what date, if it was an update to it, or if it was a new piece of content, actually who harvested it, which version of Harvest did you use, all that info is in the analytics flow. If there's something, beyond that's missing, just let us know.
Cool. And the last question, any plans to add ADSK hosted content libraries to AVAIL without separating in Revit version specific channels that are mirrored in AVAIL?
Read it again, slow.
Any plans to add ADSK hosted content libraries to AVAIL?
Oh, so ADSK, not like the file extension ADSK, like Autodesk. Autodesk hosted, like ACC hosted. Now read it again. I was stuck on the ADSK. I was thinking
sorry.
about
Any plans to add
libraries.
Right? Yeah, any plans to add Autodesk hosted content libraries to AVAIL without separating in Revit version specific channels that are mirrored in AVAIL?
Oh, like these out of the box Revit content libraries. I guess I question, what do they want? Because those things change every year, so it's not the same content. Yeah, just note who that is, and we can do maybe a follow-up to understand a little bit better.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, excellent. Yeah, that's the end of the questions, which is great. That's great feedback and engagement from all of you that have submitted a question. So thank you very much. I'll take control back, Randall, just to wrap up. We'll go over a couple more slides, talk about what's next. Sorry. Excellent. So let me share these last slides. This is just a recap. Again, we kind of covered a lot in this webinar. We kind of went over a little bit as well. So appreciate you all hanging out, staying with us, going through those Q&As. But just to recap, so what we talked about are really kind of 5 components of this new Harvest output and some of the functionality that's built into that project lifecycle that we're trying to kind of bolster efficiency from. So we've got Project Navigator and Harvest. They've joined forces. You're going to have a single add-in in the very near future to download for users of all types. Indexing container files is yesterday's news. So yeah, if you've been using our current Harvest flow. You've been indexing those container files first and then running Harvest. We're going to be doing away with that with this new version. Number three, Harvest output is going to give you full text search of your details. So that's going to be an automated process that's going to happen in the background. You'll be able to review that data in the actual desktop, but it's going to be automatic as you start to harvest using this new version. Number four, you're going to be able to kind of seamlessly connect drafting views and sheets as related content. So again, it's going to be anything that's on that sheet, like Randall had said, the drafting views, the legends, the schedules. You do have that option at your time of harvest to enable that and have that output for your end users to kind of have everything collected together with related content. And then number five, you can load content from palettes with a single click from Project Navigator. So that's kind of a new end user specific feature that we've added in. We've got kind of all these kind of publisher capabilities with Harvest, with Project Navigator, which is really kind of tied to that end user workflow. If they're using palettes, if they're adding that content to your palette, we're going to be downloading that if it's hosted in cloud automatically, and we're going to be loading it, kind of bulk loading that into your project from the kind of the new palette tray. So kind of get down to it, the release timeline. So what we're talking about right now, we've alluded to it a little bit. We're really kind of expecting a kind of a preview release stage here in May. So looking at the next few weeks to kind of have that announcement once it goes into preview. Production release probably was going to fall in the June timeline. Obviously, if that's becomes sooner or later, we'll be communicating that. But we typically have these preview release just to kind of get more feedback and kind of have it out there for people to start to use and get those stories if we need to update anything else. And then you're also going to have an update to the desktop coming soon as well. So it's going to be all tied in. Some of these new features as far as your get link to palette, your ability to bulk download host and cloud content. That's going to require a new desktop update. So we'll be announcing that. But it'll be paired with this production release of the new Harvest Project Navigator combined add-in.
Yep, those have to happen at the same time.
Yep. And then upcoming spotlights. So something to look forward to if you're interested in related content. We talked a little bit about that today, how much we're going to be automating that through the new Harvest workflow. We're going to be adding some new tools to make related content even easier. So we'll be able to highlight those in next month's webinar, talk about that a little bit more, talk about some of the more of the use cases, kind of get your ideas and kind of brainstorm how you can make the most out of that specific feature. And then we'll be doing probably some more, probably kind of recapping and circling back on Project Navigator specifically and talking about that story a little bit more. This is kind of focused on, we kind of had it balanced today with Harvest with a kind of a higher focus, but we kind of talk about Project Navigator, some of the benefits there, review some of these workflows, and then also get your feedback. So you can expect that in June. But yeah, that completes our webinar. These are the kind of last final reminders, just so that you've got this top of mind. Current version of the desktop is 5.05. All of these are out in production. We just launched a new kind of performance update and improvement to Avail for Revit in version 5.4. And then we've got this another performance improvement in 2.4.5. But again, there'll be new updates coming around the desktop and this combined add-in. So stay tuned for that communication. It's going to be very, very soon.
Just maybe just one other thing, Clay. We are actually working on Harvest for AutoCAD and Civil 3D around block management.
Yes.
That's also in the works. Anybody that's on the call that still has a foot in the AutoCAD Civil 3D side, a lot of engineering firms doing civil work. It's important too. We're actually working on Harvest for AutoCAD and Civil 3D. So raise your hand if that's something that you want to discuss with us. But that's underway.
Yeah, that's a great point. Awesome.
And as an example, all of that full text search capability on the back end gets to take advantage of everything that we've built, even though that's from a different platform than Revit, and the way that content will flow through goes through the same pipelines. So exciting updates there too coming.
Cool. Yeah, a lot to look forward to. Thank you again for everyone for attending. We'll be sending out additional communication, additional all the recordings of this webinar so that you can share this out with anyone who wasn't able to attend. But please give us your feedback, right? We appreciate you participating today, but let us know if you have additional questions down the line, and stay tuned for more communication around the new harvest, the next generation of harvest coming soon. Thank you all.